You're listening to the Rack and Roundtable podcast, episode number 67. I'm your host, David Ori. I'm here with my co-host,
Chris Agana, and our guest today was Veronica Velasquez, aka Dr. V, aka This PT Life. Oh man, this was such an awesome conversation.
So good.
I apologize beforehand that I end up yelling towards the end of this conversation because I have a trigger word. What's that trigger word? Say or phrase?
Financial literacy.
That's my Winter Soldier phrase. I think it just activates my.
Dude, this is such a good conversation, man.
I know. It went from like her career becoming a PT, and then also like some Filipino American stuff, or just like Filipino cultural stuff, and then getting into how she got into financial literacy. It's just like an awesome journey, an awesome conversation. Oh man, you guys are really gonna like this episode.
All right, everyone, man. Today we have an awesome guest for you guys, and I'm gonna let her do the introduction just because all those accolades kind of speak for themselves. Like we always say, we want to just set the table for the conversation we're about to have. So I'm gonna let you take it away and kind of give the listeners here just a taste of like who you are, where you're from, what you do, and set the table for us.
Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Veronica. I am a physical therapist. Namely, I have a Doctor of Physical Therapy degree. So it's kind of cool. My formal title is like Dr. V on my social media. So on top of that, I do have a social media account called This PT Life on Instagram, and it's grown now to about I will almost hit 23,000
Let's
followers.
Go.
That's great.
The content is hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and that's what I really want to share. So on my social media, I really just want to share a day in the life of just my life, which is physical therapy. I also share, my journey towards physical therapy, what a day-to-day life is being a working professional, the grind. And I like talking about wellness and like kind of talking about burnout. So making sure that I keep it real and show you the good and the bad of this whole healthcare career. And also on social media, on top of that, I like sharing my student loan journey. It's been I really want to get that paid off, as well as reaching financial freedom through real estate investing. So I kind of tinker with a lot of different things, which I like. I don't want to just do one thing. But yeah, currently I am an acute care physical therapist. I work in the hospital setting. That's what that means. And I love that, as well as I do a little bit of home health physical therapy. So I provide physical therapy services in the home. And then lastly, I do a little bit of teaching. I'm a teaching assistant at a DPT program. So I kind of just like and love everything.
Nice. We heard all these great things right now about you, but I want to know from the beginning, you growing up, is this something that you envisioned for yourself, or was this kind of just stuff that you picked up along? Did you always want to become a physical therapist?
I did not. So being a Filipino, my parents were like, you need to be a doctor, okay? You have to be a doctor. I'm like, oh, okay. And I thought that's what I wanted to be. But thankfully in college, I kind of gave myself the room to explore a little bit and really, really let myself ask myself what I really wanted and not just what my parents wanted. So I thought I bounced around and I majored in poli-sci for a little bit, psychology for a little bit, and then I went into athletic training, and that's when I kind of fell into some kinesiology classes and heard about physical therapy. And then from there, I just kind of fell in love with what that was, the ability to give people the gift of movement. We move every day. And so I think it's just been a nice melding of what my parents want, which is like healthcare and being able to show off their kid, I guess. And then me still having some agency and having a career that I really wanted for myself and not just for my parents. So yeah.
Nice, nice. I mean, okay, I guess because we're in Filipino American History Month, right? And you mentioned that, like, hey, as a Filipino growing up, and so we've been talking about that a lot actually.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been like a common thread in a lot of the conversations that we've been having. And so we all kind of there's like this kind of underlying understanding that, that's like you have to be like this certain career, right? And you kind of alluded to it. And I kind of wanted to go a little bit like deeper into that. Like, what was that kind of like? You still kind of pursued something in healthcare, which is awesome. And you've made a career with it, but you've also like branched out and done all these other things too. So I guess even in the beginning, having that conversation with your parents about, like, oh, they wanted you to be a doctor, but you took that into your own hands and created your own thing out of it. And even now too, it's like you've also just like blossomed your entire career into other avenues as well. So what's the conversation like with your Filipino parents?
Yes. So it was a lot of educating on my part to them, because really, like, I just really needed to show them that there's really not one path to the success that they want for us. And so for me, it was just really showing them that, hey, I can still be in the hospital, right? You want me to be in the hospital, I guess. And then I'm like, hey, I'm gonna still have a stable job. Isn't that what you want? Like, just me to have a stable living in general. Because like that's essentially, it comes from a good place, right? They want us to, have a stable life, have something better than what they had, which I completely understand. But sometimes if you just follow what they want, you just kind of lose yourself. And sometimes, that's what I've been afraid of, and still like afraid of, like really trying to be authentically me while still like acknowledging the sacrifices and the journey that our parents and our ancestors and the people before us did. But really, I think like educating them that I know what I'm doing. Like you might not understand this career path, and that's okay. I'm still, you got to trust me and know that you raised me with a good head on my shoulders, and I'm going to land on my feet. I promise you. Just assuring them that. So yeah, I think it's just the conversation, and just also half of it is also me I'm just gonna do what I want to do. Anyways.
I love that.
Yeah.
So is there because I've gone through physical therapy before, and I don't think I'm my physical therapist for Filipino. Is there a lot of Filipino physical therapists, at least like that you're aware of in your program?
There was like a little pocket of us. Like, I think it's becoming a little more popular in, at least in our generation, like millennial generation, which is exciting. But even so, like in the hospital setting, I've had some tita and tito PTs as well.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, hello. They're like, yeah, I graduated from the Philippines. I came here and took sorry, I just like naturally doing the tito accent here.
Totally fine.
Power to you.
I know.
But yeah, like it's still there. There's physical therapy there has to be physical therapy in the Philippines too. So some of them do come here, and I do see some foreign grads that are working in the hospital, and they are Filipino physical therapists too. So there's pockets of us.
Nice. And I asked that because, sorry, Dave. I asked that because I have a friend who recently just graduated and is now a physical therapist. And now I also know somebody who was in the same program that she just graduated from. So I'm like, man, are we starting to like move over to physical therapy now too? That's awesome. Just making sure that we're getting some representation every side of healthcare. Yeah. Go ahead, David.
No, that's awesome. I wanted to like kind of use that also as like to talk about just like your journey as a Filipino, just because I know that that's very, very unique. And I kind of want to, like, the people that are listening, I want them to understand that from your perspective, So I wanted you, if you don't mind, sharing like what that's like for you.
Being a Filipino in physical therapy?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. It's really cool actually, just because it's not really, it's still a pretty white space, I would say. It's still pretty, it's a like a lot of female professionals in physical therapy. So that's what's I think it's like a good 50-50, but definitely there is this discrepancy as to how many Asian Americans are in physical therapy. And just like any person of color or BIPOC folks, like there is still a discrepancy there. So it is nice to be able to represent, at least using my social media, to show that, you know, you can go into this particular pocket of physical therapy. It doesn't always, I mean, what's pushed around with a lot of my cousins is going into nursing, especially, which is fine. And I love working with nurses, and nursing is such a great profession. My mom's a nurse. But like, I think like it's important for me to represent just a different, there's got to be different ways. There's like not, there's just not one way to happiness, to fulfillment and success. So being a Filipino in this space where I am still the minority, it's really important for me. And I take it really like seriously, I think, because it is hard. Like I am the minority in these spaces.
And that's awesome. And I would say we see that because of your social media, right? You're putting your face out there because you want other Filipinos, other people who look like you, know that there's physical therapists that look like them, right? And that they can make it as well if that's something they're thinking about. So what is it that you love about physical therapy? Like, what are the pros and cons? Like, if anybody's listening, thinking about it, not really sure. So what are the pros and cons in this field?
Pros, it's definitely, you can go in so many different settings. I chose the inpatient setting in the hospital because I just love, it's so dynamic in the hospital. I go to all different floors. I see all different diagnoses. And I get to use like really different critical thinking skills to get a patient up and moving. But you can go into outpatient, you can go into sports, you can go into pediatrics. So there's like just a really wide range of things you can go into and specialize in. If you really, if anatomy and the body and getting people to move in a more optimal way is, if that really excites you, it might be the profession for you. So yeah, those are pros. Cons, it's called physical therapy. So my daily life is very physical. And so it does get tough. Like, I'm just thinking about today, my day today was doing something called a total assist transfer. So that's like with like an over 200-pound patient. So just literally lifting patients up can get very physical. And this is why I do want to tap into teaching more, just because I don't think I can be lifting patients into my 50s or 60s. Like, it's not gonna happen, y'all. So yeah, and then definitely, as I mentioned before, like a lot of healthcare careers, there is still burnout. I have productivity standards that are really dumb because just it's all about insurances. It's becoming less and less about patient care, which is what pulls us into these professions. We care about these patients, we care about their quality of life, but this healthcare system is a little bit broken. So we still have to maneuver within a very broken system. So it can cause burnout, it can cause anxiety, a global pandemic where we were not prepared for. All those things physical therapists still have to encounter.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, being in healthcare myself, like I totally understand. I see a lot of that stuff too. But I love that you've kind of taken everything that you've shared and you've brought it to a space where you just share it with other people, and that's kind of what I love. You know, you've brought it to you brought it to light, and in such a unique way. You know, the way that you share it through your social media is super awesome. I honestly. And it's like super entertaining, not gonna lie. So yeah, heck yeah. That's I mean that and hey, you're definitely there. So like what was that like, kind of the transparency with which you work, bringing that to a social media platform where you can share that with other people. Like why'd you end up trying to do that? And what's that journey kind of been like?
So it's been really fun. It really,
Yeah.
being in social media, it's ever changing. Specifically Instagram. Sometimes they push pictures. Now they're really pushing Instagram reels, which I've been loving because, as you said, like it's kind of fun doing
Yeah.
more entertainment, being like using funny audios, in order to be funny, but also I hope like it's a way that I can educate folks. I hope it's a way that I can give you the realness of what healthcare is like. So really this journey has been so fun, and challenging in such a different way. Like I started it in 2019, in October, and that's literally when I got my first job as a
Oh wow.
physical therapist.
Wow.
Literally, like my Instagram is as old as I am as a PT.
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to just document this journey. And so really this entire Instagram is just my evolution, my little novel as a physical therapist. And it's just been really fun. It's been like having to be creative is really fun for me. Getting to I like writing. I like trying to convey things with like I don't know, just writing. I really liked English back in and writing and composition back in high school. So this is one way that I can still do that. As well as yeah, just getting to be a social media manager, a content creator. I'm my own producer. I'm kind of my own agent when companies like come to me for different products, and being an ambassador for different companies. So it's cool to just
Yeah.
go into this space that is like I'm still doing healthcare, but like it's more
Yeah.
social media, more techy. So it's kind of cool. It's challenging.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's crazy because I mean to have the confidence to start a new job and
Hmm.
then post it on social media without like I mean let me ask you, was there any fear that somebody might or you might get judged, that like there would be a bad reception, and how did you get over that to finally say I'm just going to post because I'm going to post? I mean, what was your thought process through the whole thing?
Oh my gosh, I had so my boyfriend then, he's my fiance now. He was someone that I like was kind of telling this idea with. I
Mm,
was like telling him, I'm like, "Oh, I see all these like other Instagrams where they're showing like the day in the life of so and so career." I'm like, "I haven't seen one with physical therapy where it's like acute care. There's like a lot of physical therapists in Instagram that are more outpatient, very sports, very like exercise based, and that's not me. It's very much not me. I was just like I would love to show what it's like in the hospital. I don't feel like people know that PTs are even in the hospital. He's like, you should do it, just do it. And I'm like, I don't know, well, never mind. Like so it took some convincing. There's definitely the imposter syndrome of like
mm,
who's gonna really
yeah.
hear about me, little old me. But I think for me, it's not so much. I think you mentioned confidence. I did not enter it with any confidence, but I think for me, it was moving into it with fear. It's like even with the fear, even with maybe I'm gonna embarrass myself, maybe this is gonna be a total failure, but I'm gonna just move through it. Like I've gone through all these other challenges, like an Instagram, starting an Instagram and a social media account. I think I can just move past the fear. So yeah, not confident in starting at all, to
Oh,
be quite honest.
that's so freaking cool. I just love that. Like, or I love hearing stuff like that just because like, you like bit the bullet and you did it. You like,
Hmm.
you just like, yeah, it's I mean, because I mean, full transparency, like doing stuff like that, there's like a lot of underlying fear. There's a lot of
Mm,
underlying just like hesitancy for many reasons, and but the fact,
Judgment.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, fear of judgment, that's so real. But the fact that you did it, that just shows,
Thank you.
I mean, I think just kind of shows the type of person that you are, and just you're someone that's gonna go get it. And that's so empowering, honestly. That's so empowering. What's probably what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned taking that jump, making that, or taking that first step,
Mm.
or like what's one of the biggest things that have come out of it, that you've learned?
I think just telling myself what's the worst that can happen. I think like
Mm,
if
I love
I
that.
like for anyone that wants to go into
Yeah.
something, like I think I'm more fearful of regret now. I think
Mm,
like the regret
Mhm.
of not doing something because is more scary to me. And I think I've been trying to live my life that way. Just because like life is just so short. Might as well do it. And if people ridicule me, so be it. I mean, I still won't like it, but so
yeah.
be it, to be honest. But I'd rather move, like I said, like past the fear, past the embarrassment. I mean, I low key still get embarrassed. Like there's people like when I started this new job, like my new coworkers were like, "Oh, are you are you on Instagram?" And I was like,
Famous.
kind of. I don't know what to say. Like it kind of feels weird to be like, yeah, I'm on social media. Because I don't know if that means like, is it embarrassing or is it like kind of cool? I still don't know how to react to it yet because of that fear. Because I'm like, oh, do you think like my Instagram reels are cringe? Like, okay. But yeah, I think like regret is something I don't want to live with.
I love
Mm,
that. I wanted to say point this
yeah.
out too, like just because you mentioned, right, like there's always that, like, in the back of your mind, it's like, are people like looking at you funny, or are people, like trying to pass judgment, or whatnot. But like I feel like that's exactly what, like, Raccoon Rounds is trying to do, the opposite of what Raccoon Rounds is trying to do, right? Like we're trying to be like the people in your corner, trying to like give you that platform,
Mm,
right? Like
mhm.
that's really what this is, right? It's to talk about just like, yeah, like I'm doing things differently. I took a different step, but like that step is still dope. That
Yeah.
step is
Yeah.
still awesome. And like we're here to celebrate those kinds of things. And just the fact that you talk about it the way that you do, I think just like, it comes through the screen, at least for me, and being able to just like speak on that, I just love hearing that. So yeah, sorry, sorry, Chris, my
No, man, I'm
bad.
glad you shared that. And I'm glad you brought that up because I mean, going back a little bit, you said, Veronica, that you had somebody in your corner, you had your fiance now,
Right.
tell you like, do it. Like he saw something in you. That's what everybody needs in their corner. Whatever they want to pursue is that if you don't have somebody in your ear saying, "Damn, you got this potential, you need to go for this," then you got to surround yourself with some other people or something. Something to kind of shake
Mhm.
things up. Or if somebody can't recognize that in you, it's like somebody out there will, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you brought him up. But another thing I wanted to bring up was you said that now the fear that you have is that you don't want to regret, right? That's a mindset shift, right? And what was the moment that made your mindset change? Like when did you start thinking, wow, there's so much I can do, and now I'm afraid that I will not do it because I'm afraid? Like what made you think that way?
Oh man, how did I get that? I mean, I think in the last few years I've just really been trying to go through this growth journey and really just questioning a lot of things that like in our culture that's like supposed to be truth. I think it's like, yeah, a lot of just me just trying to question everything so far. So like with unfortunately with a lot of family and like sometimes with parents, they sometimes instill like some doubt and
Mm,
judgment. And I mean that's a like a critique I have of our culture, right? Like there's so
mm,
much shame and guilt. And like I just don't want to move that way or move forward. I hope that I and this generation can just break that chain and just be like a little more encouraging of things outside of what seem to be normal. Because like there's just so much more opportunity there and like so much more authenticity there. And like that's currently like that's something that I've been really trying to focus on this year, all about like setting boundaries for myself to protect my own peace. Like you mentioned, like figuring out who my support system is and really leaning into them versus I just don't lean onto the folks that like bring me down. And sometimes, unfortunately, that can be family. Sometimes that can be those people closest to you. And I just mainly say like, thank you for your opinion. I'll consider it. And then I just do the opposite. Just because like I think like I just want to answer your question. I just want to break the hesitancy or break the doubt that sometimes comes with going into new territory, I guess. Yeah. I hope that answered your question.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's perfect. Because we talk a lot about like on here, and especially like off the podcast, we talk a lot about just like what's the point of record rounds and what's the point of like this community, right? And it's to push the boundaries, like break glass ceilings, right? And break the walls that we've kind of as a culture maybe put up ourselves. And so the fact that you say that is just like the alignment there, I think is just so key. And one aspect of that I think that you mentioned and that we were kind of talking about offline was just the kind of like the walls that we put up in terms of just like our financial education. And I know that that's very, very big on your end, right? So talk a little bit about that. Like kind of give us a sense of where that kind of came from and what's the story behind you beginning that journey for yourself.
Yeah, so like, right, Filipino culture is all about don't talk about money.
Yes, for real. Oh my, thank you.
Never don't talk about salary, don't talk about this when we're like we're really like hurting ourselves by not talking about these things, because like money, like really finances and money, it's like a part of our daily life. I mean, we just happen to be in a capitalistic society, so we do have to think about finances and money. And like I feel like this is one way we can really empower our community. If we talk about financial literacy, can we talk about how to budget? Because like I don't know like about every family, to be quite honest, like my parents aren't the best with money, and I think that's what pushed me to learn a little bit more, because like sometimes I have seen them and growing up seeing like working paycheck to paycheck, and these are supposedly like stable careers, nursing and healthcare, but why are we living paycheck to paycheck? And I think it leads down to this path of like we were never taught financial literacy. We were taught survival. We're good at surviving, but are we good at like thriving? Are we good at building wealth? I think there's a lack of that, and I want our generation and future generations to just level up what we've already learned, which is like getting money, but how do we keep that money? We got to keep it and pass it down to like future generations. So really my journey came from graduating PT school and finding out that I have over 100K of student loan debt, like many other healthcare providers. And I just don't want to have that much debt. So I did a lot of YouTube searching. I fell in love with like this whole like student loan debt journey, like a payoff, like other people paying off 100K debt. And I just taught myself how to budget. I moved back home. This is my room right here. I moved back home in order to cut living expenses, and really for that first year and a half, I like really aggressively paid off my loans from 100K down to now it's like 12K.
Nice.
So
that's amazing.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, and that's like one, it is through, I'm very fortunate because not a lot of people can do this, like move back home, and I don't pay rent, for full disclosure. And like I'm just very lucky that I come home and eat Filipino food, and I get and But also a lot of that comes with like discipline and education, I think is something that helped me out to go from such a huge amount to a pretty doable amount now. And yeah, it was like through a lot of education, as well as like implementing what I educated myself with.
Man, I am all about that, man. I'm freaking all about that, man.
We
That's
can
something
do
that
it.
yes, yes. Dave and I talk about that. I talk to everybody I can about this. And I'm so glad you brought that up because it's like, look, our parents taught us how to work freaking hard, right? And what if they didn't teach us about money? And well, it's not their fault, right?
No.
It's our responsibility now to learn these things. You know, we can't blame our parents that I never learned this. Well, now it's our opportunity to learn it, right? There's so many resources out there for us. And just like you, I went to YouTube University and learned as much as I can about financial literacy. You know, there's just so much places to get this information. I'm so glad that you shared that. And what I also noticed is that like it's not just okay. Now I know I need to know how to pay off debt. I need to know how to build wealth, like you mentioned, or like to invest. I just hearing this conversation, it sounds like you're thinking like steps ahead in your life. Like you said earlier, like you know, I'm a physical therapist, and I can't see myself doing this in my 40s and 50s physically. That's why I'm thinking about getting into teaching. You're already trying to learn different skills, right? And that now is transitioned over to like money. And like tell us like as far as are you investing? You don't tell us like exactly, but like are you getting into like investing? Are you getting into I mean, I know you're getting into real estate, but like what are you doing now so that everybody who's listening, who is Filipino, who is young and that are just afraid that they probably don't know enough, like what are you doing so that you can inspire them right now about their financial literacy?
So yes, I am totally excited to talk about this.
Sorry, I got really hyped up.
Yeah, I want our community to like be financially free. So to answer your question, first off, I do have an emergency fund, so that's really important to start off with. And another thing I do, as I mentioned, is budgeting. I'm a total paper and pen gal, so I love like writing things out and literally going through every single financial statement and seeing, was I in the surplus or was I in the negative? So I think that's a good starting point of skills for our community to have, like really just practice knowing how much is coming in and how much is coming out, and whether you're in the negative. Once you're there, you can level up and begin to like take the surplus and paying off debts. So really right now, I never have any kind of balance on my credit cards. I always pay them off every month. And I rack up points. That's a whole nother thing that way.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Check out episode. I don't remember what number it was, but yeah. For those listening.
Yes. And so taking the surplus now, like making sure that I pay off all my debts. I only really have student loan debt. And I do have a Roth IRA that I invest in, as well as I utilize my employees' 401k to put and making sure that I match that, meaning that's free money that your company will give to you as long as you are doing the percentage that they say to. So always look for that. And then beyond that, now my fiance and I are really trying to level up even more. As we think about moving in together, we want to go into real estate investing. We want to do this concept called house hacking, which is essentially we want to get a duplex or a triplex, live in one unit and have tenants live in the other units to really offset the mortgage with their rents. We haven't done that yet, but that's the plan. We're really trying to learn. We've been going to meetups. I mean, just last night we were at an LA real estate investing meetups to just try to network and learn from others. But yeah, those are all the things I'm doing with my money.
Oh, I love it. And for those that are wondering, it's we were talking about episode number 63. It's talking about travel hacking with Jason Francisco. So just a small little plug there. But yeah, so I mean, back to you.
Listen to that.
For sure. Yeah, for anyone listening out there too, go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. No, that's so awesome. And okay, I'm not even gonna lie. Like Chris and I literally talk about this like like too much.
Oh my
Can I
gosh.
Yeah.
say something? So as far as the 401k, right? So like, I want everybody to listen to this. So when she talks about that match, or like, oh, your employer says a match like 30%, 5%, whatever. Like, yes, it's people say it's free money, but also think of it, this is money that they owe you. They owe you this. Like whatever the match is what they offered you when they hired you. That's what they owe you. So take the money that you're owed. So that's all I gotta say. But anyway.
I'm snapping. I don't know if my microphone hears it, but oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
Can I
And yeah.
join in these
Oh my
conversations?
Of
gosh.
course.
Oh
Oh my
my
God.
Heck yeah.
gosh.
Heck yes. Heck
I'm a
yes. I mean
nerd,
the
man.
fact that you started it on this episode too, it just shows like I mean, not to get into too much of the details, especially like this is like very, very just like still very high level stuff. And but the fact that there are people like us like talking about it, right? Like that's the cool thing to see, you know. And if you're gonna take away anything, it's that there are people like probably just like whoever's listening out there that are talking about these things, that want to level up, that are trying to build something for themselves, and not just for themselves, but to take care of the people above them and below them. And I mean like generations, right? And so like that's important, right? And there's people out there that are doing that. There's people out there that are learning that. And I don't speak from like a place of like a wealth of knowledge, but someone that's like a student of this game, right? And so there are other students, as you can see, of this game also. And
Yeah.
that's the whole point, to like bring each other up, to level up together, you know, and to as a community. And so I think just exactly that, like what you said is just so powerful, and it just kind of brings that to light. And I just wanted to share that like from my heart. Like I love that. I seriously love that. And Chris is probably already tired of me saying all this stuff.
No, dude, I'm so glad you're seeing it, because man, like we gotta let her know, dude.
I love this. I love this energy. Yes, let's
Yeah.
bring everybody up. Let's bring everybody
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. No, that's really, really what the goal is, you know. And I guess to kind of, you know, cap off the conversation, because we were talking about like goals. Like what's the goal for you? You know, what we want to know, like for Dr. V, right?
Yeah.
What's the goal in terms of like all these avenues that you're pursuing, you know, that comprise this story that is, you know, this PT life, right? You know, like what is the goal? What are the goals, you know, and what does that kind of look like down the road?
Yeah, in terms of everything that I'm doing, I really envision my life like, oh man, that's such a good question. Um, I've been thinking about this more and more, and I've been really, you know, we work so hard. We go through all this schooling, we learn so much, and we grind and grind and grind. I see my future as not grinding as much. I really like, I heard this phrase that I love, like there rest is resistance as well. And like
Mm.
our communities, Filipinos are such hard workers, and we're such hard workers, but I would love to see a future where I'm financially free. I get to live a life in peace and do things that I enjoy. I mean, I'm so much more than a physical therapist too. Like, you know, I'm a fiance now, I'm a daughter, but I also I love watching TV shows. I love learning Spanish and different languages. I'm a big book reader, and I want to like lean into these simple life joys that I feel like sometimes all the grinding takes away from, all the hard work and grinding does take away from. And I would love to move into a space in my life where I can just travel and just like, I don't know, live in a life of luxury and stability, and just really it's just financial freedom. So yeah, that's what that's what I see envision for myself.
Man, love that dream, man. Love that dream.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
So we want to give you the opportunity, of course, to share where people can reach you. Obviously, I'm pretty sure people are going to want to start following you after hearing your early stories. So, like, go ahead, share all your socials. If people can reach out to you, go ahead.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at this PT Life. And that's really my main social media. If you'd like to email me for any collaborations, it's thisptlife@gmail.com. But yeah, that's where I am honestly most active. And I'd love to get to hear from you and talk to the folks and share about financial freedom and all that.
Yes. Oh my dude. It was awesome talking with you. And it's just I love like just creating like a community of people that think like us and want to progress like us. And like we were talking about, like break these glass ceilings and the walls that we put up for ourselves and just, you know, push the boundaries, push the limits and really like the mindset, change that from an entire community's perspective. So I just love having you on this podcast. Seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so fun. This was just like chatting with pals.
Yeah, right?